Hey, Nikki Brown here. No matter where you are and no matter what part of the world you're in, I hope that you're having a good day. I want to share something with you. I'm doing my best to be very candid through this process and to be very vulnerable and open because I know that there are other people who need this help, who need the inspiration and the motivation to keep going, right? Some people grew up with nurturing parents, right? Whether it be one parent or both parents. And some people grew up with parents who did not like them. They didn't like the fact that the mom or the dad was not around, and they basically took out that frustration on the child. Or they never really wanted the child, but maybe they don't believe in terminating or whatever their belief system is, or whatever that thought process is, they were resentful. I remember Oprah saying how she got pregnant at 14 and she was thankful that she lost the um, the pregnancy because she didn't want the child. And so although that may have been sad for someone else, especially for people who are unable to have children, some everybody's not meant to be a mom or a dad just because you have the ability to produce life, right? And so some people don't nurture their children. They they manipulate them, they abuse them verbally, emotionally, mentally, even physically, financially, stealing from their children, saying you don't have any business or you don't have any money, like, especially if you live in their house, right? Some people's parents were drug addicts their whole entire life. Some were alcoholics their whole entire life. Some just went to work and again just felt like paying the bills should have been enough. And again, never gave a hug, never said, I'm proud of you, never said, I love you. You know, these things affect people later in life. And although you can make changes and you can do better, sometimes you still don't realize how it affects you mentally because our words become things, our thoughts become the things that show up in our life. And the things that we said or did in the past, sometimes they don't show up for years, right? I was kind of laughing and not laughing. You have to laugh at your pain so that you don't, otherwise you'll sink into depression, right? So I was thinking, when I was going through this process. So I'll keep the story short. Basically, I got hurt at work. I was out of work for a year and 5 months, right? Right before I went back to work, um, I took out a title loan on my car, right? And I ended up working 3 jobs. I was able to pay the loan back, right? But my body couldn't physically after being disabled for a year and 5 months, my body still was not ready for all the pushing that I was doing. But I was trying to recover because I didn't want to be in that situation. I didn't ask for that. But you know what I think about? 3 people said to me, you need to slow down, you need to slow down, you need to slow down. You're doing too much, you're working too hard, you're working too many hours. Because I was always at work. I was working so much overtime and on that concrete floor and doing manual labor as I was working in a warehouse at the time. And the body just was like, yeah, we good. And all of a sudden I just felt this sharp pain on my left side, and again, a year and 5 months. So once I finally did get back to work, I was working 3 jobs. So again, I'm pushing myself because now I'm trying to repay all of this, the year and 5 months that I, really didn't have much of an income. I had income, but it was off and on. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, so I took out the title loan. I was able to pay it back, right? I narrowed myself down to one job, but still, I was only making $16 an hour. So I was working double shifts, right? again, still pushing my body, my my not completely healed body, right? And again, $16 an hour, it still wasn't enough. So I ended up taking out another loan on my car, and then another loan, like a personal loan, and then a few other personal loans. Again, just trying to stay in this apartment, right? And I had to laugh because I kept saying, I'm going to end up sleeping in my car. And I kept saying it, right? The thing about it, though, is I should have made this decision on my own at least 2, 3 years ago, before the snowball got bigger, right? And so now it's like, if I had made that sacrifice a few years ago, I could have paid what I needed to pay and, just, because we want comfort. And I get it. We're not used to having to make such a huge sacrifice. That's such a huge sacrifice. But it's like sometimes we have to go backward in order to be propelled forward. And if we do so willingly, the process can be much easier and much faster, right? But that blessing is being blocked when we're stubborn and we're trying to hold on to things that serve no purpose in our lives, right? And sometimes we're asking for things like, I want a house, I want a bigger home, I want a new car. And you don't get to determine how it's going to come to you, right? Sometimes you're asking for a new car, and the Most High might make you have an accident so that you can get that new car. It may not happen the way you want it to happen, right? It's coming to you. It's already here. And if you have that mindset, it's already here. I know it's just a shift in your mind, right? But again, our thoughts become things. So we have to be careful of the things that we say and of the things that we ask for. We have to be very specific, and have to ask for it to come in a better, more fun, more loving way. Otherwise, again, all hell could break loose. A tower could completely fall. The brick wall could just come tumbling down, right? And we don't know why, but we do know why because we know what we were thinking. We know what we said. And people say that, oh, I don't believe in that. You don't have to believe in it. Not believing in it doesn't make it any less true, right? So that's my message to you. This is the love that I'm sending to you today. Right? I don't have my whiteboard anymore. I had decided I was going to start going to the park. And thank goodness I had taken the day off. Right? This particular day. This happened on a Saturday, a holiday weekend of all things. And the marshals come knocking at the door early in the morning. Who would have thought? Right? Again, it doesn't, because I'm thinking, oh, I'm good. It's the weekend. They'll never come on the weekend. Right? And I thought maybe I had more time. Right? I thought that the Most High was going to give me more time. I was like, the church is going to come through. They're going to pay this past due balance, and then I'll just be able to keep up with it from here. But no, it didn't happen that way. And I put in the application at the church in June 25th. And when I reached out last week, I was told, oh, they're auditing their finances for the final quarter of the year. And so they'll get back to me. I think that was last Monday. And on Saturday, it was all over with. Right? So again, we don't get to determine how it's going to happen. But I know, I said repeatedly, I know I'm going to end up sleeping in my car. I said it repeatedly in my mind and out of my mouth. And then even that, the location that I thought I would be in, I already needed a tune-up, right? And so now the car's been sitting. And so I can't even really go to the location that I intended to go to. So again, it doesn't always happen the way we want. One of the things that I've been doing my best to do over this past few years, at least since my, I tell this story. I know I've told this story before. If you've heard it before, I apologize if you don't want to hear it again. One of my very best friends in 2016, he passed away, and at his funeral, the pastor said, "Live each day as if it were your last." And since that time, this is 9 years now, I have been doing my best to do that. I was already a joyful person, but even more so now. People do still trigger me sometimes, but I'm getting so strong that it doesn't happen as often. And I've distanced myself from so many people. That's another thing. A lot of us around so many toxic people that keep us stuck in that mentality that we're doing our best to grow and heal from. It could be a relative that you really love, but you need to either completely distance yourself or go no contact. And that's not easy. Yeah, you may cry. You may scream. Get you a notebook and write it down, right? That's one of the things I made sure that I grabbed was my notebook, so that I can still continue to take my notes and I can still continue to share the messages that I need to share with y'all, right? Because this is not just about me. Again, because I know I'm not the only one who is on this journey, who is looking for guidance, who is looking for help. And it's not easy when you're in a situation you feel like you don't have anyone to turn to and you have to get yourself out of it. But how do you get yourself out of it? In your mind, by staying positive and motivated, right? And everything's duality. So really there's no such thing as good or bad or negative and positive, right? Necessarily. But we want certain things to be negative, right? If you're applying for a job and you need to take a drug test and you know you smoke some marijuana or you sniff coke or whatever it is that you do, because I'm not judging here anybody, because that's not what I'm here for, right? Um, you want that drug test to come out negative, right? Right? So there in everything there should be a balance, even our mentalities. I broke a nail yesterday, if you're wondering, because I know my nails were longer anyway. I know somebody's thinking that, and it just came to my mind, so I just not. And that's another thing, give up the need to explain. You are going through this journey and people are going to ask you questions. They're going to look at you weird and they're going to get an attitude because you're not answering the way that you want them to answer. Like if somebody says, "Oh, well, what are you going to do?" Continue um, to grow. You could say something like that. And again, they're going to think you're weird. You're going to think you're crazy. You're going to think you added, "Why you not answering me? And why you acting like that?" And all that. But you don't have to, because explaining somebody keeps the story going. I was very reluctant to even share what I shared today. But again, I know it's going to help somebody. And that is why I shared it. Right? Because people judge, people get an attitude. "Oh, she in that situation because she just didn't do this, that, and the third." How do you know? Right? Nobody expect. And at such a young age, I didn't even know whether or not I was going to walk again. Right? But again, I don't owe anyone an explanation. But I had no help. Right? And so this is me helping someone. Because again, I kept getting the messages, the tap on the shoulder, "You need to slow down," and I didn't listen. So the Most High sat me down for a year and 5 months because I was going to your heart. Because if you're asking to be wealthy, a $16, $17, $20 an hour per hour job is not going to get you the wealth that you're looking for. It has to push you in the direction that you need to go in order for you to get what you are asking for. Right? Some of you are being divinely guided to resign from your jobs or just quit your day job. And you're not listening. You keep saying, oh, I want to start this business. I want to start this business. I want to start this business. I want to do this. I want to travel more. I want to do. Yet you're staying stuck on the hamster wheel, just spinning around, or stuck in the muck, in the mire, spinning your wheels in the same position. You're letting other people tell you you can't do that. That's not realistic. You got to do this and you got to do that. Again, to hold on to this comfort when there is more coming to you. You are destined for greater things. Even the thoughts from your past, again, if you grew up in a toxic family, even if it wasn't everybody in your family, it could have been an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, right? These people were telling you you can't do something or you shouldn't do something. They got all in your mind. And sometimes as you go through this process, those thoughts pop up into your head. Those are not your thoughts, though. Those are not the thoughts from the divine Mother, Father, Creator. Whatever it is that you say, God, Allah, Jehovah, I don't care, right? When you say I am, whatever you say after I am, you are. And it becomes true. And sometimes it happens instantly. I say certain things out my mouth and they happen right away. And then I say certain things out my mouth and I don't see them for years. But I always get what I want, right? I've noticed that. I've noticed that since I was a teenager because I've always been that person who would write down goals. Again, I didn't understand it the way that I understand it now, but I will always write down goals and I will always say, "Oh well, um they they say God looks out for fools and babies, so if I'm being a fool, God going to look out for me." Right? And I would just do stuff. And people would say, "Oh, you can't do that. You crazy, blah 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 blah." And I wouldn't listen to them. I just do whatever I wanted to do. But I would always write down goals and then maybe I was cleaning up and I would find this list that I wrote from years prior. And I would realize that there were a lot of things that I could check off that list, like graduating from college, you know, getting a car and, all these different things. Some of them were material and some of them were just for my own personal growth and development, right? Because although I'm not benefiting from my bachelor's degree or my master's degree, it still helped my mind, right? I would not be thinking the way that I think now if I didn't have that critical thinking that I learned in college. I would probably still be stuck at the job that I got when I was like, I think 19, 20, 21, somewhere around in there, right? I had a quote unquote good job, but I always wanted more, always wanted greater. And I was like, I can't, I'm not staying here. I'm going to be here. And I stayed longer than I thought. I thought maybe 5 years or less, right? I ended up staying 7.5. Great benefits. They paid for tuition, not reimbursement. They paid it up front, honey. 100% benefits. Nothing came out of my check. I just had to pay a copay when I went to the doctor, right? Even after I took out buyout package. Great package, right? Um but they were needing people to retire. Of course they were hoping people who were there longer will retire, but you can't force people out, right? I was making $23.14 an hour in my 20s, right? Although I had my son at 18. And so and I was still living in New Jersey at the time, and then the cost of living in New Jersey was already increasing at that time. This was 2003. And so I moved to North Carolina, right? And I've been in the South ever since. But it kind of balanced out because Only thing that was cheaper was housing, rent or mortgage. But in terms of food, you had to pay taxes on everything. Whereas in New Jersey, we didn't pay taxes on food, clothing, or paper products. And so that was a completely different change. It was like the food cost more. And to get your nails done, my goodness, I could get my nails done for like $10, $15. Like a full set for like $15 and a fill-in was probably 10. And if you wanted some fancy stuff, you might pay 25. Same thing with my hair. I had a relaxer at the time and I would get doobies. $10 they started out. Then they raised it to 15. I was getting my hair done every week, honey. And even if you got something like cut color, I still was paying $50 probably. And even because these Dominican salons, I was going to the Dominican salons, and they were kind of like, push you out type of thing. But even when I started going to like a personal, like not a personal, but like a Dominican who actually owned the salon, and she was just the only person working there. I actually met two of those. Still, wasn't paying that much money, and my hair was the longest it had ever been, other than when I was a little girl. And my mom used to do my hair because she did go to cosmetology school, and so she did hair, and she would, grew my hair pretty long. But with a relaxer as an adult, it was way down my back. But then I end up going to somebody else, and they cut it. And again, everything is a learning process. Everything is a learning experience. You know, I was being lazy at the time. I didn't feel like driving the 45 minutes to the salon, and so I just went someplace locally and, whatever. So again, everything is a learning process. I wouldn't take anything from my journey, right? If you've experienced toxicity for years, I mean decades, you're not going to be able to release that overnight. Keep in mind that I went through a 9-month life coaching program with a specialty in anger management. I also became a Reiki master. If you know what Reiki is, that's a healing modality, right? Where you're basically using your hands and energy, because we are all energy. Everything is energy. And we can heal ourselves with the mind and with the power of our energy. And I also took a 1 month um, yoga instructor program. So I'm a certified yogi, right? And in that program, I had to do yoga every day. I had to, like, we woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning to meditate for 30 minutes. And then we went through like sound healing. And then I learned all about yoga and the different techniques. This is not just stretching, honey. There's book knowledge. I have 4 binders full of books: how to eat, um, how to cleanse the nose, the mouth, the ears, everything. This is not just a simple, oh, you learn how to stretch. This was a month of intensive training. They say that, they normally teach children, like, children in certain countries will become become yogis at a young age, um, as part of the culture. Um, and I had to learn how to teach a yoga class, right? So again, very intensive. This is not child's play. And then again, because of my thoughts, I know that I'm creating all of this. I wasn't able to secure a position as a yoga teacher. I did my best to, right? In my mind, I did my best to. I've published 3 books. Again, this is not because I'm not making any effort to do anything different. I have I still have the product business because, people who know me, they still will ask for products sometimes. But in 2009, I started using and making natural products because one of my friends told me, "Oh, soap has roadkill in it." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Yeah, beast basically it has meat fat in it, like meat, what they call tallow. It could be pork, it could be beef. And so at the time, I've been a vegetarian since 2001, and I was like, if I'm not eating meat, I definitely don't want the meat in my body, because whatever you put on your body absorbs into your bloodstream, right? Um, because your skin is the largest organ of your body. So even if you touch something, that's how you can get sick when you come in contact with certain germs, because it absorbs into your body immediately as soon as you touch it through the skin, right? So I was like, again, I don't eat meat, so I don't want meat in my body through my bloodstream because I'm using soap or other products that are harmful to me. So I completely switched once I learned that. And that was like in 2008. So I started buying the products first, and then I realized, um, I could start making them. So I started making them. Great products. If you want to go on my Etsy page, I have lots of reviews of um, people who talked about how the products were great. But and I did get a lot of sales. I would vend, but it didn't grow the way that I wanted it to grow. Again, as always, it starts out with me wanting to help people, because I'm like, wow, this product is great. If I could, help other people, because my family has a history of dry skin, extremely dry skin, right? And my grandmother would put like Vaseline and Crisco on her skin. Other family members would too. And so the product that I was making, it completely, like, my skin used to be scaly. It is no longer scaly. It even, helped with my eczema. I had a real big dark spot on on the back of my leg. It looked like it looked like a bruise. I mean, it was like the length of my calf for the most part. And it went away, and I didn't even realize it went away. So when I was just making products and I was not working at this particular time, what would happen is the products would get, like, I would use gloves, but sometimes, like, the product would get on my hand or on my arms. So I would take the product and rub it on my skin. And after 90 days, I realized again the bruise, it was from my eczema. It was from me scratching from having eczema. The bruise completely went away, and I didn't even realize it. Another thing I was doing at that time, which I didn't know, like, I didn't know it was a thing. I was intermittently fasting because I would be so busy making products and filling orders and getting ready for vending events that I wouldn't eat. And all of a sudden, I realized I had lost weight too. My skin was looking great, everything. But again, I didn't know that it was called intermittent fasting. I had no knowledge, and I wasn't doing it intentionally. Again, I would just be so busy. By the time I looked up, it was 5 o'clock, and I realized I hadn't eaten. And I would wake up early. At that time, I was meditating, so I would wake up. I call it meditation hour. I would wake up between 3 and 3:30 and do, a meditation. This was before I even became a yogi. I started meditating because of Oprah and Deepak Chopra. They started a meditation series in 2013. And at my father, I think it started in March, and my father passed away in April. And at the time, I didn't realize I had fear of rejection and fear of abandonment issues. And it all came to surface when he passed away, right? And I cried for like 3 months straight. And at the time, I was talking to this guy. He was a DJ, so he was all over the place. He didn't want to, be situated and settled. He just wanted to put his meat in the hole, right? and uh, and I found myself like, oh, why aren't you calling me? Blah blah blah. Like, I was going hard, and then I realized that I was doing that, and I'm like, why are you doing this for someone who doesn't really care about you, who doesn't want to be with you? Um, and again, it clicked. I was afraid to be abandoned and rejected. And this is the thing with a lot of people, they don't realize when, I remember being a teenager and I would walk down the street and, the drug dealers on the corner would try to talk to me. And I will always say no. And they will start saying, well, F-U-B, you ain't all of that anyway. Not all of them, but some of them. But I realize now those were the ones who were insecure and afraid to be rejected. Because even subconsciously, it's abandonment, right? When somebody doesn't show up for you, it doesn't feel good. When you feel like somebody doesn't want you, it doesn't feel good until you build up that mental strength. Until you start to love yourself. And really and truly, like, whatever people think about you is none of your business. When people come up to me and say, oh, so-and-so said such and such, sometimes they're trying to provoke you, right? But at the same time, why do you care? It has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them, because they see something in you that they envy and they're jealous of, right? It could be your confidence. It could be the fact that you love yourself. I've heard people say you're not supposed to love yourself. I've heard people say that was weird, or, oh, who do you think you are? Or that's stupid. Everybody has a different opinion about it because they don't think, because they're not doing it for themselves. Yet at the same time, like right now, some of those same people are watching my video because they're envious and they're motivated. And what happens? I see the changed behavior in them, or they might start posting videos. They might start doing some of the same things that I've done over the years, right? I've been posting motivational things on Facebook for years. I know I've been on Facebook. I don't know how long we've been on Facebook. Well over 10 years, right? I started talking about conscious things around 2015 because in 1994, I learned more about religion. This was my freshman year in college. And at that time, I had no one that I could really talk to about these things because people didn't believe, you know. And I gravitated more toward African spirituality, which was something that my aunt had done and I was exposed to in 1989, right? And over the years, I started to learn more and more. Sorry, y'all. I started to learn more and more, and it graduated into um, a higher level of consciousness and consciousness thinking in 2015. And again, I've done several things because when I got hurt, this was 2020. This was like 2021, but it rolled over into 2022. So that's when I first did the life coaching. Then I almost simultaneously, like toward the end of the coaching, I started the Reiki. And then right after that, I did the yoga. So it was kind of like a succession. And but again, I was already meditating since 2013. So this has been a great spiritual journey, and I wouldn't take anything from my journey. I've learned so much, and this is one of the reasons that I share what I've learned with you guys, right? Because I love you and I want the best for you. When I say that, I genuinely freaking mean that. We are one and we don't realize it. Some people go so hard to go against one another, but some people have spiritual demons attached to them and they don't even know it. And it could be your mama, it could be your daddy, it could be your cousin and them that you love so much, it could be your spouse, it could be your children. And sometimes if your parents or grandparents or whoever, if they're being influenced, they can influence your children and turn your children against you. And again, you may not even realize that this is what's going on. And a lot of, and sometimes you don't realize you're being manipulated. Sometimes you don't realize you're dealing with narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths. Dr. Ramani, Ramani, right? She was, someone that I learned a lot from watching YouTube videos of her different interviews. Also, spiritual whistleblower, right? They both talk about narcissists. And again, we're a lot of times dealing with people that we feel like we love and we feel like we would be betraying them or turning our back on them, but we have no business being around them because they're no good for us, even if it is a relative. Yeah, it's sad. Again, it's not easy, but sometimes you just have to do it. And you have to dig your heels in the sand and stick to your guns. Because if you go back, you're just going back into the lion's den. You're asking to be abused at that point. Because you know 9 times out of 10 this person is not going to change, and if they do change, it'll be because of the learned behavior, because you have grown so much and you have shown them so much and you have accumulated so much that now they want to follow you and do what you're doing. Oh, how you do that thing? And when you say, oh, I started out by meditating, they're gonna look at you like you bat crazy. But what you mean? Like, what did you do? Elevate your mind, man. Elevate your mind, Craig. Right? Again, whatever you say after I am, you are. And people say a lot of things that do not serve a good purpose in their life or the life of the people that they are here to help, because we are here to help one another. We are one. We're here to get back to that oneness consciousness, that togetherness consciousness, that community consciousness. We are so divided and have that individualism mindset. And it's fine to be independent, but you can still be independent within a community, within a relationship. But then sometimes people don't know how to allow you to be independent in a relationship. They feel like in order for you to stay, they have to control you and manipulate you. And sometimes it's in the sweetest way, right? Oh, baby, you shouldn't travel to Africa. They say it's not safe. And I just want you to be safe. They will say it as if they are looking out for your best interest, when deep down in the core of them, they are afraid to travel. So they don't want you to travel. So they will say things to you to mess with your mind, whether it is intentional or unintentional. Because again, some people aren't doing it because they intentionally want to hurt you. They are just projecting their fears and insecurities onto you. And they don't know that. They just think that they're looking out for you. And to a certain extent, they are. But again, they're blocking your progress. They're blocking your flow. We are supposed to flow, not flow in a naive way, right? Not not flow in a foolish way. Although again, when I was younger, I told you I used to say, well, if I'm being foolish, God looks out for fools and babies. There are people who just flow, like they don't think about, like I remember a time when I was saying, like I one of the things that I majored in college was media arts. So I felt like my videos had to be perfect. The perfect lighting, the perfect background, the perfect this and the perfect. And so in the meantime I was being stuck because I wasn't delivering the message that I was being divinely guided to deliver. I kept getting messages. You need to go on YouTube and say this. You need to go and say that. But I wasn't doing it because I felt like everything had to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, though. That's not what it's about, because me trying to be perfect, I'm not helping the people who need my help. And I know what I was being. That's why I said some of you are being told to do certain things. You keep getting these messages in your mind, and you like, oh, why am I thinking that? Because that's what you're supposed to be doing. and you're not doing it. And again, if you don't listen, you're going to be forced to do it at some point. The whole tower, the whole brick wall is just going to come tumbling down because you're not listening. You're not doing what you're being told to do. The Most High is telling you this is the path that you are supposed to be on, regardless of who, what, when, where, how, and why. You cannot let any person, place, or thing stop you, including yourself. So get out of your own way, get out of your mind. Get from up there churning around the thoughts from the past because they're keeping you stuck. You have to look forward in order to go forward. But not in a way that makes you feel anxious. But it should scare you a little bit. You should dream so big that it scares you a little bit, at least a little bit. But not going back to the past in worry, in stress. This person did this to me. Nobody's doing anything to you. Everything is an experience. Nothing is happening to you. Everything is happening for you. When you understand that, you'll know what's going. I had to take the bus the other day, and I was on the bus with this girl, and someone I guess she knew passed away, and she was like, yeah, she spent a long time crying to the point where she said she looked like a raccoon. Her face changed. She had these big bags under her eyes. And I say this to people, and again, I know this is not easy because of the way that we've been conditioned to think. Everything is energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. When someone transitions, they're just going to another realm of existence, right? You can actually contact them in those realms. You know how? By meditating or just by speaking to them. Say it out loud. Your ancestors, your spirit guides, your angels, whatever you can communicate with the spirit realm. Meditate. When I started meditating, that's when I realized that's so prayer is like you talking to God and you asking God something, right? That's how most people see prayer. But meditation is actually you getting a response. It's a two-way communication. And once you open up that portal, you continue to get messages. So you don't necessarily have to sit with your legs crossed. You can do a walking meditation, you know. And sometimes people do need to go deeper and actually sit with their legs crossed and just be silent and quiet for a while. Just quiet your mind. Watch the thoughts in your mind as if you're watching a movie. Don't try to push them away because again, if you we've been conditioned to have distractions, so we're all, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. One of the things I recommend, write it down before you start meditating. If you know you have to go to the grocery store, you need to write a list. Write the list down before you start meditating. Write down everything you know you need to do. Get yourself a planner. Right, I have a digital planner on Etsy if you would like to download it. Get yourself a planner, put it in your phone so that it's always there. Write these things down. And it's actually a journal planner. So you can actually write down your thoughts and keep track of your time and what you need to do all in one place, right? To make it convenient for you. I have a dream journal on Amazon. I have an affirmation journal on Amazon. And I also have a self help blueprint on Amazon. All of these are available for sale. These are tools you can use to help you get on a different path, right? To help elevate your mind, man. So if you're somebody who likes physical books, I have physical books available. If you're somebody that prefers digital, I have those available for you as well. Um, but again, even if it's just a regular notebook, the point is to write it down. You also need to write down your dreams. before your feet even touch the floor, because once your feet touch the floor and you go to the bathroom, you're probably going to forget what you dreamed about. In order to get help with your dreams, get some amethyst. Charge it by the light of the sun and the moon for 24 hours. You can put it in a windowsill. You can leave it in your car in the on the console. You could put it on a porch, a balcony, a fire escape, wherever. Set it in the where it's exposed to the light of the sun and the moon for 24 hours. This will charge it. Set your intentions with it, right? This is black tourmaline. Thank you, black tourmaline, for coming into my life to protect me, right? You can carry it with you. A woman should always keep black tourmaline in her bra. This is for protection. Again, sometimes people have spirits attached to them and they know you. They'll hug you, they'll elbow you because they don't want you to elevate higher. These spiritual beings know what's going on. They know that a lot of us are elevating to a higher level of consciousness. You don't know that though. You don't know that you're in spiritual warfare. And that when that person hugs you, they're trying to transfer their energy or steal yours. So you need to keep yourself protected. This is one of the reasons why I started making gemstone bracelets, right? I have a few of those available as well. These things are not just, a lot of times people, oh, she just doing that because she want to make this and do that. No, really and truly, I do my best to educate my people and help my people again to become the best version of themselves. So these tools are in place to help you, not just because they're pretty, right? I educate and tell people about these things, not because I want attention or validation. I'm doing my best to motivate and inspire because this is what I have been divinely guided to do, even if it doesn't make sense to some people. I'm always available for people to ask questions. Sometimes people inbox me. Sometimes people say, you know what, you said so and such and such 12 years ago, and I thank you because it changed my life. That's what I was saying before. Sometimes people will reach out to me. Sometimes I may run into that person and they'll tell me face to face. Or sometimes I just see the changed behavior. I see them talking different. I see them posting different. Whereas again, since I've been on Facebook, I've been posting things that are positive, doing my best to post things that are positive and to motivate people. And I like to laugh, so I do post funny stuff or silly stuff or, you know, but for the most part, I stick with, but this is who I am. Like a lot of times people say, oh, you need to just stick with one thing. And I get that, but my mind doesn't think that way. I'm not a one way thinker. And I know that there are other people out there who are the same way. And sometimes people say, oh, well, everybody can't be like you. I don't want people to be like me. I want people to be the best version of themselves. Because again, that's what I have been divinely guided to do. It's not about me. I am just the vessel, I am just the messenger, right? One of the things that I say is Jeremiah 7:20, where Jeremiah was like, why do you have me telling these people this and all they keep doing is mocking me? But regardless of what people do, you have to keep going. Because even if you just reach one person, that is the one person you were meant to reach. Each one teach one. And if you're meant to affect millions globally, then that is exactly what you do. You will do. But guess what? You have to keep going. You have to get out of your own way and you have to let no one else get in your way. because you're going to have naysayers. What you doing that for? You think you better than me. Who do you think you are? Why you still doing that? What you doing that for? Who told you to do that? Who told you it was okay to do that? Baby, they coming for you because they don't want you to elevate and grow. They don't want that. They want you to stay stuck and stagnant and like they are and comfortable in the drinking and the smoking and the hanging out and the wasting time and not connecting with the Most High. Everything is meant to distract us from what we really are supposed to be doing. Everything. The social media, the ratchet TV, the the you know, the toxic relationships. All of it's meant to be a distraction for you to stay in your head. Why he do this to me? Why she do that to me? He need to do this and do that. I told him, I told her. Those people don't care. They're gonna do what they want to do anyway. Again, the best way for you to make change is to distance yourself from people and to lead by example. Become the best version of yourself. And once they see you, and unfortunately, a lot of times it takes for you to have certain material things because people don't necessarily respect you. Again, they'll shoot the messenger, right? Because you don't look like what they feel like you should look like to be delivering this message. Who that person think they are. And especially if you're going through something, do you know how many people have tried to shame me or guilt me and belittle me and talk to me condescendingly like I was stupid or like I don't know how to do anything? I didn't say one word. I just paid attention because you know what? One of the best messages I got over the years along this journey is one of my cousins came to my house with her boyfriend and they tried to steal my products from me because again the products were good and my relatives have a history of very dry skin. She tried to tuck it in her pants, honey, and was trying to be real slick. And both of them, that's what they're known for. They don't know that I know that, but they're known for that in the family. Like, families talk and tell you stuff. Because back in the day, they stole one of my cousins is deaf. He went to the hospital, got this big lawsuit, and both of them stole money from him. And he's her uncle. So her and her boyfriend stole from her uncle. And so here she is at my house trying to steal. Both of them are trying to steal. You could tell the nervous energy, everything. My goddaughter was there too. And we both talked about them when they left because when you come so when you grow up a certain way around people who do drugs or both my parents were doing drugs, right? One of them was more in the street and the other one was more functional. And so when you grow up in this environment, you see things, you're exposed to certain things. Then you go outside, you see these things, you're exposed to these things. You become friends with some of these people who's selling the drugs or doing the drugs, right? Even if it's just surface level. And so even if you're not in the street, you still have somewhat of a street mentality. You know when somebody's trying to hustle you. It was so funny, me coming from New Jersey and moving to the South, the people that were trying to hustle you. And it's like, I know people who've been doing that since the 80s. What are you talking about? What are you doing? I'm not falling for that. So, being street smart, right? Going to college, now being book smart or academically smart, right? And now I'm spiritually smart. So people, when I say certain things out of and I've had this gift since I was little, people will say, how did you know that? Where did you get that from? How did you know so-and-so was going to happen? But I wasn't tapped in. So, it would be like me casually just saying things. And still, I still say it casually like it's a conversation and people don't listen, but that's neither here nor there. But again, they'll come back to me and say, "How you know so and so was going to happen?" But being spiritually tapped in, a lot of people, they try to get over. They're still trying to manipulate. Like even men, they don't understand why I don't want to deal with men. You don't have anything going on in terms of being healed. A lot of men want to be in a relationship with a woman who's already healed so she can heal him. But if he's not already on that journey, that's a disaster waiting to happen, because you cannot change anyone. The only person you can change and control is yourself. You have to have self control. So you can't stop people from doing certain things. And again, they will trigger you, but it's all a part of the experience, it's all a part of the journey that you are supposed to be on. It's divinely guiding you in the direction that you are supposed to go in based on the things that you said out of your mouth that you wanted. And so everything is an experience. And you're being pushed on the path that you're supposed to be on in order to have the experiences that you said you wanted. And you can either accept the assignment or stay away from the assignment. But you asked for it. So you have to be careful of the things that you say and how you say them. Um, and just be more mindful. Practice mindfulness. Stop saying certain things that don't serve a good purpose in your life. Like BROKE. Stop saying that you're that, because you will continue to be that. It will continue to be true in your life. Even if it's you have money, right? And someone asks you for money and you're saying, "Oh, I don't have it." I'm that word, the B word. I call that the other B word, right? You're manifesting that. So that at some point it's going to be true in your life. Sometimes it only takes one incident to happen. Again, getting sick, or a natural disaster can come through, and again then everything that you had is just not there anymore, and you have to start over. A stock market crash, anything. And I am not asking for anything of those things to happen. Please, uh, release that energy. And we're asking for good things. So, and a lot of people think saying affirmations are silly, but it's helping you to change your mindset. I am enough. When you've been beat down and not, even if you weren't necessarily told that you weren't good enough, but some people were told those things. But um even if, like, say you wash the dishes, your mom may have come in the kitchen and say you missed a spot. That's making you feel like nothing you ever do is ever good enough. And so you carry that into your life. And a lot of times people will become people pleasers. And I will remember somebody said that to me and I didn't understand it at the time. This was just in like 2021. I didn't understand. I was like, I'm not a people pleaser, but my work ethic is so, I go so hard. Like I put 100% into anything that I do. And so it shows up as people pleasing. And that is because I was never given any acknowledgement of you did a good job. And so I'm always like trying to be perfect, and again, subconsciously, so that somebody can tell me that I did a good job. And again, it's not like seeking attention or validation. That's a little different. Because in your heart, you're yearning for approval because you've been rejected and abandoned, especially even if you had that parent, again, who was physically present, they may have mentally and emotionally abandoned you. They may have verbally abused you intentionally or unintentionally. Again, verbal abuse could be, "Oh, I don't want you to travel because it's not safe." That is a form of verbal abuse, although no matter how pleasant it may sound. It's you're replaying those thoughts in your mind, and it's keeping you stuck in the same place so that you won't go from a 20-mile radius of where you were born and raised, because you're now afraid because someone projected their insecurities and their fears onto you, and you don't realize that's what happened. So, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I didn't realize I was talking so long. I hope that this was helpful, though. I got this message yesterday that I was supposed to deliver this word. Um, so I delivered this word. And I know it's going to help at least one person. I hope it helps a million people, over a million people, because I know everybody's situation is different. Again, everybody didn't grow up in a loving household, in a loving environment. And you may have had one parent who was loving and the other parent who wasn't. You may have been adopted. You may have grown up with grandparents, aunts, uncles, whatever the case may be. Everybody's situation is different. And a lot of people say, oh, you only get one mother. But if that mother did not serve a good purpose in your life, if she was never proud of you, if she was jealous of you, if she was operating out of her own fears and insecurity, and this is not to blame her, right? This is to understand she was her own person, or your dad, he was his own person. And they had something that happened to them as a child that they never acknowledged and they never healed from. So they were doing the best that they felt like they can do, given the circumstances that they grew up in. And some people are very angry. And again, they'll never say why, because they're not willing to heal. They'll never write it down. They'll never get those thoughts out of their mind, out of their head, out of their heart. Again, that's one of the things I recommend. Write those things down. Get it off your mind. And if you need to cry, release it. It's a cleansing. You'll feel so much better afterwards. Even if you have to do it multiple times, do it until you start feeling better. Do it for 30 days. Do it for 90 days. Change the narrative in your mind. Rewrite the story. Say how you wish it had been. Not to convince yourself that it was a different way, because you have to accept what was, because again, it's all a part of your journey. Right? Especially if you believe that we signed a covenant before we came back here. So that's one of the best tools, writing it down. Again, even if it's just on a plain notebook with a pen. Call it a diary, call it a journal, whatever you want to call it. But you have to release it and let it go. And you have to distance yourself from people who don't serve a good purpose in your life. Because although you may love them, they're no good for you. And you have to walk around with joy. Right? And although you may be experiencing things, so what? It's an experience. It's an experience to make you grow and to be stronger. It's not for you to wallow in it and have a pity party and walk around grumpy and complaining all the time. Again, live each day as if it's your last. So make the best of every situation. If you don't like your job, don't go in there complaining and making everybody else's days miserable. If you don't like it that much, leave. Find something different. Start your own business. But to complain, it's really only hurting you. It's really not affecting anyone except you, because these are the thoughts in your mind, and you're going to continue to have those experiences because you keep complaining and thinking the same thoughts. And whatever you think, it becomes a thing in your life. Whatever you say after I am, you are. So if you walk around, I'm sick of this, you're going to keep being sick of it, because things are going to you're going to continue to experience things to make you feel that same way, because you keep saying that out of your mouth. You keep thinking that in your thoughts. instead of writing them down, releasing them, and letting them go and moving on in a way that serves a better purpose in your life and the people you're here to help and makes you a better version of yourself. That's it. That's what we're supposed to do in life. It's not about the material things. It's not about the car, the bigger house, because people who have those things are still insecure. They're still fearful. Some people take themselves out of here because they realize that's not it. And they never got what it is that they're supposed to be doing. And I just shared that for you. Free game, free game, free game, baby. As one of my favorite YouTubers says all the time. I can't think of her name right now, and I apologize because I love her energy. Start watching videos that of people who have good energy that motivate you. Um, why can't I think of her name right now? Um, I can't think of her name right now, but whoever motivates you, whoever's saying good things to help you get to where you want to be, that watch and follow people who are doing what you want to do, who are in the place that you want to be, who are already what you consider to be successful. But again, it's not about that. It is, but it isn't. It's about you, completing the journey so that you can motivate others to do the same thing, be the best version of themselves. Again, it's not about the material things. Those are just trinkets that's going to help attract other people so that they can get this word. Because that's what we're doing. We're attracting. We should be attracting. Not asking for, but attracting. Everything is energy. Money is energy. Everything is energy. So that house, that car, that money that you're asking for right now, it's energy. So you have to raise your vibration to energetically attract what it is that you're asking for and what it is that you want. And the way to start doing that is to heal. I don't know why my nose is itching. um and if you're wondering why I'm covering up my shirt, you know, I don't know what my employer is okay with and not okay with, and I don't know if I said anything. I hope, I did my best to say things that were just motivational. But I don't want to associate this brand with the brand of Nickie Brown, right? This is Conversations with Nickie Brown, honey. You have officially been Nickie Brown, baby. Right? It's not about, anyone else. It's about this word that I'm giving you right now. Because I know somebody needed to hear this today. And again, I know we live in an instant gratification society. Um, and I didn't, it was not my intention to, have this video be this length. But again, I was doing what I was divinely guided to do. Once I started talking, baby, it was just rolling. I had wrote down a little short little, you know, I thought I was going to be on here from 5 at the most 15 minutes. Psych, fooled me. But it's fine because I do feel as if I gave you some tools and some words to inspire and motivate you to, again, become the best version of yourself. And as I always say, love y'all. Later. Mwah, 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 mwah. I hope you have an amazing day. Make the best of it, okay?